Hello, welcome to Laytechs Weekly, episode 25th November 2020. Laytechs Weekly is brought to you by Laytechs, your protection from tech ignorance. My name is Sean. This is the news of the week. Adobe releases ARM version of Photoshop, only in beta, but at least it's released. Adobe announced the release of Photoshop that works on ARM architecture. This version will work natively on Surface Pro X and all M1 powered MacBooks and Mac Minis. Native running apps are important because they are way more efficient than apps that need to be emulated using another software. It is still in beta, which means that it will be buggy, but at least we know that it is in a roadmap that's happening very soon. Is it a perfect timing for Apple because they just released the M1 and all of a sudden Adobe is releasing this version? Or perhaps Adobe has been working on this version of Photoshop since the Surface Pro X came out, and the M1 just came out right after, and thought the timing is more close compared to when the Surface Pro X is out. So perfect timing. Or maybe Adobe is just finally getting enough pressure to work on this since more creators are on Mac OS than they are on Windows. Either way, we are happy we're getting this now. Intel, beware. There's a new lobbying group for electric vehicles in the US. It's called Zero Emission Transportation Association, Zeta. Well, wait, because it's in the US, it's Zeta, not Zeta. Zeta. And its goal is that of 100% of new car sales will be electric by the year 2030. This, of course, is limited to the USA, but it matters to the rest of the world because what the US does, we also do. It is actually high time we get a proper organization that is actively pushing for zero-emission cars. The UK has also announced a similar commitment by 2030. 100% of new car sales will be electric by 2030 in the UK, and the EU made a similar commitment by 2035. For those of you who still be living under caves, why UK and why EU? UK is no longer the EU. End of story. This has been pushing for all major car makers to switch gears. It is important because why? US is the top polluter of with cars with the largest CC petrol engines. So when they switch, it's all good for the environment. And the EU includes the makers of some of the most top-notch cars in the world. Top-notch being, heritage and quality, German marks. If you refer that to heritage and quality, then yeah, that's it. But they do have influence over all the other cars out there, which is what is important to us. Once they start manufacturing cars that are electric and pushing the trend down, everybody else will do the same as well. Perhaps in my lifetime, I will be able to see a world where fossil fuel will no longer be used. And since Malaysia is also a producer of such fossil fuel, we better brace for some impact. Because fossil fuel is not doing well, and I don't think palm oil is doing well either. We got to find something else to focus on. Islamic banking, yes, that works. Boeing 737 cleared for flight. Remember 2 years ago when a couple of Boeing 737 MAX planes crashed and killed everyone on board? Yeah, we remember. Scary times. The planes have been grounded ever since, and the company has undergone grueling investigations to sort their crap out. At least the public hoped they were grueling. The key problem with the 737 MAX was that the makers tried to cut corners and pushed out a new and more efficient plane to compete with the Airbus. Instead of remodeling a new engine, they moved the old larger ones further forward and threw the balance of the plane down. Right? In order to counter that, they installed this MCAS sensor that automatically dips the plane's nose down whenever it senses the plane is pitching upwards. To make matters worse, the MCAS was designed to only draw data from one external sensor, kind of like a pitot from the nose, next to the nose, which means that if that sensor is damaged, the device would be bringing in false information. The icing on top of everything that went wrong with Boeing was that the company rolled out the training manual of this new plane over a simple iPad app, and they played it down. They said it was a minor improvement. It's still the same 737 like everybody else has been flying. All you need to do is just to go through like a small little iPad app manual to learn how to fly this plane. They misled the pilots into thinking it was just another 787 that did not properly emphasize on the importance of the MCAS and how to disable them. 2 years later, the plane is now clear for flight, only to be held back by, well, COVID. Moreover, I think Boeing needs to work a lot harder to convince all of us, because I personally am not going to fly a 737 MAX anytime soon if I can avoid it. That means it also goes down to airlines who may not buy 737 MAX because people won't fly in them. Yeah, so a lot of work for you to do. Apple will pay $133 million for throttling phones. Okay, quick flashback. In 2017, customers complained that their iPhones were getting a lot slower after software updates on older phones. I got it. And I was complaining, and everybody thought it was my problem, and I was just being biased against Apple. No. Apple said it was designed to protect those phones from aging batteries. They even offered up cheap battery replacement programs to smooth things over, but that did not stop the lawsuits from piling up. Early this year, Apple agreed to a $500 million settlement, and a second one just came at $133 million across 34 states in the US. Okay, it's only in the US. If you're a user of all these old iPhones that have been throttled before and you want some compensation, tough luck, we're not getting it here. This is only in the US. Moving on, Apple was sued for hiding both throttling and battery degradation from iPhone users, arguing that, quote, Apple fully understood that by concealing the issue, it could spend a year of profiting off of people who thought they needed to buy a new iPhone when they only needed to replace their phone's batteries to avoid throttling or unexpected shutdowns. This was what the attorneys were suing Apple for, right? Apple denied all these allegations, as would anyone in their caliber, right? And then proceeded to settle, which means a court will not be able to decide. They cannot pursue this case and will not be able to decide whether there was actual wrongdoing on Apple's part. Very cunning, Apple. Smart move. So for those people who are saying that I'm extremely biased towards Apple for such things that are not true, these things are true, right? They get sued quite a lot of money. Elon Musk, now the second richest in the world, with a net worth of around $128 billion US, founder of SpaceX and Tesla, dethroned Bill Gates as the second richest person in the world, according to Bloomberg Billionaires Index. Well, first is still Amazon guy, what's his name? Suddenly just escaped my mind. Anyway, this is controversial for many reasons. Firstly, many claimed a lot of the newfound wealth came from NASA's investment into SpaceX as part of a new space exploration initiative. Then there's the one where Bill Gates keeps donating a huge portion of his wealth to causes, which keeps getting him like dipping down below the top, and because he keeps giving his money away, right? Then there's the fact right now that most people don't really like Elon Musk for his offensive tweets and comments about everything. So not many people are celebrating his second richest man in the world title. But for me, I'm a big fan of Elon Musk. Yes, he has a problem with commenting and pissing people off, and saying the wrong things at the wrong time, supporting the wrong people, and all these kind of things. But to be honest, usually many of these great visionaries are such people. Steve Jobs was like this. He just did not have a Twitter account to show us all how his inner minds are working. Not everyone is perfect. I do understand that there needs to be proper PR representation. He probably should hire someone to do his PR for him, but at the very least, maybe people appreciate his candor. That's one way of looking at it. But anyway, why I like Elon Musk is that he represents hard work. He works day in and day out, year after year, pouring his own money back into his companies in hopes that one day they will be successful. So for those who does not know much about where Elon Musk first got his money, and then how he poured all his money back into his new companies, and how he almost went bankrupt so many times and he had to sleep in his office. and he even lost his first wife, his first marriage, because he's working so hard. Yes, it is not it's not exactly the best story to tell, but it is a story of hard work, and there are values to be gained from there. You can actually find some books to talk that talk about this. He also represents true vision in a world where the wealthiest countries, companies, and nations are backed by oil and gas money. He went and built an electric car, a bloody good one at that. And now there are multiple lobbying groups across the world pushing for 100% electric car sales in the next 15 years. Maybe someone would have come along eventually to push this forward. But in this universe, in this reality, he was the one. And if it wasn't for him, I don't know if anyone else would have done that, because everyone who tried that, all the car makers were too invested in combustion engine to even try electric cars because it works, right? And the top 100 richest companies in the world are mostly either in the oil and gas supply chain or heavily invested in oil and gas supply chain. And because they pour so much money into countries, they also become invested in oil and gas. And this is the biggest move he made. The second one is that also he restarted a program by the space program by aiming for Mars. Yes, Mars is a crazy dream, and we actually I agree that we should all be focusing on healing the Earth before even thinking about going off-world. But his plan for Mars has always been a just in case plan A fails. Plan A being saving the world, right? So we don't have to go to Mars for survival, but it can be an exploration. It can be an expansion, because Elon Musk did say that in order for humanity to expand beyond what we are, we need to be a spacefaring race. So we can gather more intel from outside and learn more. And maybe while exploring other planets, we may just find a way to fix ours. This week's Tech of the Week, Microsoft last week hinted at building an Xbox app for the TV. This is a brilliant evolution of things. Think about it this way, right? Gone are the days when we needed one hardware that does only one thing well, which is, in this case, an Xbox box. Today, every appliance at home is a machine with a lot of computing power, and it will keep getting more powerful. Microsoft Xbox team launched its xCloud service, right? Which is a way of gaming. You pay subscription, you play whatever games you want while you're on subscription, and because it's from the cloud, it removes the need for powerful Xbox hardware, right? So now they're thinking, why not build an app for the TV to stream the games they need to play where they buy from xCloud, right? So you can use one TV, one device to play the most hardware intensive games from xCloud. You don't need a hardware intensive TV because everything runs via the cloud. Right? This marks a new dawn for a new technological era for us. It is the death of Moore's law because powerful hardware isn't going to be an issue anymore. Fast internet will be the new technological push. As long as we can reach and maintain high speeds and zero latency across all corners of the world, we can hide our high-speed hardware anywhere in the world and access them from the crudest machines with a proper screen and controller. This is going to be the next stage of technological advancement. No longer how powerful your hardware is, but how fast the internet connection is required to connect a cloud service with the hardware that is placed in the most remote parts of the world. Suddenly, Apple's M1 ARM chip doesn't seem like such an advancement in tech after all, right? That's all for Laytechs Weekly this week. Laytechs Weekly is available on Anchor FM, Overcast, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Pocket Cast, Radio Public, and more. Our full videos are available on YouTube, and I post bits and clips on Instagram and Facebook. This is Laytechs Weekly, episode 25th November 2020. My name is Sean. Stay safe, stay home. Bye-bye.